next submission is from Sally Johnston. Sally, hi. As an individual, you have 5 minutes with us. It's up to you if you want to leave enough time for questions within that, but we will draw it to a close at 5 minutes. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. So I guess my 5 minutes, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and how this law affects me. I'm a competitive small bore rifle shooter. I'm a 2-time medalist at Commonwealth Games level. Wow. I've been shooting for well over 30 years. I've been shooting since I was 12 years old, competitively. And before that, had shot at home on the farm with my parents under close supervision. I've been raised around firearms my entire life. And firearm safety has been drilled into me from day one. So, you know, I think I represent a group of shooters, in fact, most shooters, that can agree with the intent that you're trying to achieve with this law. You know, I absolutely believe that it is the responsibility of a firearms owner to always act in the interests of personal public safety. And I believe that I and most law-abiding firearms owners have done exactly that over the past many, many years. But this law, you know, I understand it comes from an emotive place. It comes from a place of wanting to be sure that checks and balances have put in place to limit harm to the public. And in my day job, I do that every day. I work for Ministry for Primary Industries and Food Safety, where I'm trying to limit harm to the public every day from foodborne illness. And I would hazard a guess, in fact it's not a guess, I can state that more people are harmed in New Zealand every year from misuse of food implements than what are harmed every year from firearms. But nevertheless, as a regulator, I know how hard it is to create really sensible and effective law. And my concern with this law is that it has been put together in haste, that there are some good ideas there, but that they are not backed by strong evidence, and that they actually create an environment where it is hard for people that want to comply with the law to do so. So, for example, just a couple of things. I brought with me some parts.
Okay.
These are parts.
They came through the security thing?
They did.
Good.
They're completely harmless parts, but they are parts of a firearm. I have hundreds of parts. The law says I will need to mark every single one of these parts in a way that is yet to be specified at a cost that is yet to be specified to me. I am a shooter that, because I compete in small bore rifle shooting at an Olympic level, I don't shoot at indoor ranges, I shoot exclusively in outdoor 50-metre discipline, where there are not very many people in Wellington that do that. The law says that a shooting club is people who follow written rules, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, and participate in shooting activities on a regular basis. I compete and train at the Trentham Rifle Range, which is under Defence Control. In order to use that range, I must have another person present as a range officer. So 2 of us are routinely there training. We follow written rules because there are standing orders for the range. Am I then a club? The law does not exclude me from being a club. On the face of it, it seems like I'm a club, and so therefore I will need to become a registered club. The only firearms I'm storing are my own, but hey. Also, I train at home using an electronic training system and a dry firing system. There's no propulsion at the time, but it is a shooting activity. It is training. I use a designated place in my house every time for that training. Is that then a shooting range that needs to be authorised? A shooting club also is, as I mentioned, people would follow written rules and participate in activities on a regular basis. I would hazard a guess that there's a bunch of mai-mais out there with a bit of paper on the wall that say these are the rules of the mai-mai, and a regular group of people get together every single year to shoot ducks. And that will now be a club, and that duck pond will now be a shooting range, and those people will now have to register a club and have that duck pond certified as a range.
A minute or so to go. No.
Yeah. So ultimately, I think that, you know, the flaw in the system is that it has been hastily put together. Using registered licensed firearms owners to actually find workable solutions to the problem would be a way forward. It's unfortunate that that hasn't happened yet, but I for one would put my hand up if that opportunity arose. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Time for one quick question.
Yeah, I see you're a day job, you're manager of food and beverage.
That's right.
You're for MPI, you get criticised for a lot of the little rules that you impose, but you know there's a reason for them, don't you? Because the rules you're putting in place are not for the compliant, they're for the ones who don't comply, that give us all food poisoning potentially. That's fair enough description of why you need a set of rules. And without, I know we're limited in time. The thing is with the firearms, is it possible? I mean, you are the sort of person, and people here, people we absolutely want to be able to carry on and do their sport. How do we carve out your sport, your international, all the firearms work you've done? How do you carve that out from those that don't obey the rules, whose firearms do end up in criminal hands? I mean, how can we do that? Can we have a carve out from sporting to recreational? I mean, how do you do that?
I absolutely believe that you can, but writing rules is damn hard. I know that from experience. I know that from many, many years of experience. But rules are not really there for the people that will never follow rules. Rules are there to essentially provide a benchmark that separate the law-abiding from the not, and to provide consequences for those that are caught not to be law-abiding. You know, any regulator can tell you that there are those that will follow any rule that is given. There are those that will follow rules if they're easy enough to follow, and there are those that will never follow rules. Writing down rules will never get those that never follow rules to follow rules. All you can do is provide a consequence that is big enough to discourage it, if that's the way that they're tending, or that a consequence big enough that takes them out of society if the offence is big enough. You know, in food, it's all about changing behaviour, and this is a focus of this Act too. It's all about changing behaviour. But when you make rules, you have to be aware of the unintended consequences of behaviour change. Are you really asking us to change our behaviour, or are you proposing that actually there's a whole bunch of people that are behaving badly, in which case let's have a look at why they're behaving badly and what kinds of things would allow them to change that behaviour. It's hard. Yes, it can be done. No, it can't be done in 30 seconds. You know, but as I say, I'd be happy to be part of any group that attempted that very, very difficult task.
Okay, look, thank you. And thank you for your submission today and for coming and presenting it so clearly. And I see you're a gold medalist from the Olympic Games. So, well, Commonwealth, sorry, Commonwealth Games. Very impressive. Thank you.
Good luck in the next one.
Yeah, that's right.